Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, The Lost Chevalier, and you're welcome to Imperial Grace, the demo 2.0. Let us get into the game, shall we? For a mature audience, it contains many themes that could offend the sensitivity of younger players. I'm not young. The completed trigger warning is available on our store page. I haven't read it. You have to play a demo version of the game, thus the content may be subject to change, blah 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 blah, like diplomacy. If you already played the game, no, I haven't. Click anywhere to describe the process story, yeah, like a visual novel. Use your mouse wheel to go back, okay. You can fasten the text display in settings, a color palette mode. See to font dyslexic, click on the chest in the right corner to see your available resources. You have infinite resources. Or you will have to manage your resources wisely. Oh. Lady of Tyrnfell, Empress of Calidya, can I change everything? I can't change. Oh, it must be because of the demo you can't change it. But looks like, oh wait, I can change the hair though. Oh, this is awesome. And the color, oh, we can have a color of different. Oh, interesting. Steward path, army, diplomat's path, fate path. Do you want to pick the stewardship path? You will gain economic and mathematical bonuses. Midriade will be your tutelary god. Yeah, let's go for stewardship. Interesting. Interesting. Your Highness. Your Highness. A panicked voice resonated in my dream like an echo. A few moments before, I understood that it came from somewhere else and woke up with a jolt, disoriented. The palpable feeling of urgency had immediately brought me to my senses, but it still took me a few seconds to recognize the advisor's voice as well as the room I was in. Well then, what's going on? Your Highness, I bring terrible news. Your father was assassinated last night. I was ready to hear just about anything. Managing crisis was an important part of royalty, after all, and yet I was completely stunned by the news. My father was dead at the hands of an assassin, just a few rooms away from me. All the implications from the revelation bounced through my head, drenched in doubt and fear concerning my own security and the future of the realm of Calidya. I beg your pardon, Your Highness. I did everything I could to save him, but it was too late. Pulling myself out of my lethargy, I looked down on Alexander, who kneeled next to my bed, his head bent down, as if the weight of his shame stopped him from getting up. Whatever went down, I knew he had nothing to be ashamed of. When I was just a child, I already admired his talents, and they grew steadfast with age and the opposition of General. His presence here was a relief. I didn't know the assassin's full intentions, but even if they were after me, as long as Alexander was by my side, I didn't have anything to worry about. He did it. Don't put yourself down like this. You aren't responsible for what happened. We will bring the regicide to justice. Still mortified, Alexander stayed on his knees but nodded in approval, convinced by the strength in my voice. As for me, now that I had said it out loud, I felt that the information had settled in my mind, and I finally accepted it as truth, with a full understanding of the situation. My father, Magnus V, Emperor of Calidya, was dead. Many would have broken down after hearing such news, but for years now I hadn't held an ounce of affection for him. His death was actually good news to me. It marked the beginning of a new era that I so desired since I had learned where my destiny lay. I was to succeed him, I was to become the Empress. But it wasn't yet the time for celebration. Although I was legitimately heir to the throne, I had plenty of detractors, and I still needed to figure out why the assassination had taken place. I had many questions about the killer's identity and motivations. I was lost in thought, and it took me a while to realize that Alden and Alexander were staring at me worried, surely waiting a reaction of a declaration from me. Both had known me since my early childhood. They knew the enmity I felt for the Emperor, and I trusted them enough to set all pretenses aside. Did I kill him? That would be amazing. But it was perhaps a bit inappropriate to rejoice over my future title while my father's dead corpse was still warm. After taking a deep breath, I threw off my covers and got up, aiding them. Exalt, pretend to be sad, stay neutral. Stay neutral, or exalt. Exalt. Oh, and after all, I was about to open the next few days pretending to be a grieving orphan and crying my heart out. I could enjoy this moment for a while longer without faking my sadness. I know this might be used simply, but you are both aware of what I felt for my father. I won't mourn his death. I'm convinced that I will be a far better ruler than him, and that matters right now is the kingdom's stability. My candor seems to throw them off for a moment, but they recover very quickly, vigorously nodding while I finish getting up to lend weight to my words. I am counting on you to protect and serve me. This won't be an easy task, but I'm sure we can accomplish great things. This time Alessandro got up, putting his hand on his sheath in a dignified and military posture. At your service, Highness. May the four witness my oath. I solemnly swear that I will protect you until my dying breath. Emphatic, he bowed down before lifting his eyes up to me. I smiled and accepted his alliance with a certain poise, despite my upkeep hair and my night gown. Marjorie, my tutor, often told me that everything about me showed nobility. I didn't need any props to act like an empress. Today I understood what she had meant. Alden, however, didn't seem to share this general fervor. Forgive me, Your Majesty, for tarnishing your enthusiasm, but there is a very delicate question that I have to ask. Have you had your father killed? His abrupt question threw me off, and I stared at him, wavering between surprise and indignation. How dare you even suggest such a possibility? You're going too far, advisor. Come on, don't be offended. You say it yourself, you have hated your father since the death of your brother. You have always held him responsible for it. And your father dies on the very day of your return to the palace? Whatever your answer is, I will accept it, but I need to know. I felt anger rise within me at these words, and I walked to the window to breathe some fresh air. After I took a few deep inhales, I finally turned around to face him and gave him my answer in a firm voice. On the one hand, my presence here isn't a coincidence. The Emperor celebrates, or rather was about to celebrate, his birthday in 2 days. Half of the Empire's noblemen are here. It's undeniable that the event presented the perfect opportunity to strike. The palace is swarming with unknown guards and servants. It's much harder to provide security in these circumstances. Exactly. On the other hand, your suspicions are an insult to my intelligence advisor. After a regicide, the error is always suspected. If I had really wanted to speed up fate, you better believe I would have been smarter about it. Marjorie taught me the rules of the game. I will never risk losing everything in such a foolish way. I know my ascension to the throne will already be difficult because I'm a woman. I will state it plainly if it can relieve your doubts, but listen closely because I will not repeat myself. No, I did not have my father assassinated. My eyes trained on him, I crossed my arms, almost daring him to contradict me as I keep a lid on my fury. Alden seemed to gauge me for a moment, then nodded in assent and apologized. Please forgive me, Your Grace. At nightfall, I will alert the Master of Murmurs, and we will launch an investigation to uncover the truth and bring justice to your father. I would have preferred more vivid regrets, but under the circumstances, this was enough, and I felt my anger slowly fade away. I accept your apology. Let's not speak of this again. There are more urgent things to do. The news will, no doubt, make quite a commotion. You have asked us to swear allegiance to you. I assume you will try to claim your rightful place as heir. Your Grace? Yes, I have always wanted to become Empress. I nodded vigorously and didn't skip a beat before answering. Yes, my father doesn't have a direct heir. I doubt the court will accept his bastards, and he hasn't remarried since my brother's death. I have been preparing for this role for a long time. The day simply came earlier than he planned. There are many things I didn't agree with when my father ruled. Only time will tell, but I think I will be a good Empress. I don't doubt that, Your Grace. In fact, I am rather relieved to see you already talk about it. Like you say, our country needs stability. We can't get away with a weak-willed monarch on the throne. I'm sure you will be a wonderful empress, Lydia. His words were barely a whisper, but I was sure of what I had heard, and felt my cheeks redden a little. Oh. He seemed embarrassed by his own boldness, and blushed more violently than me, while I flashed him a smile to reassure him. It had been years since I had last heard him call me by my name. Even if I had no doubts about my own abilities, it was always refreshing to see the trust he gave me. I cleared my throat and regained my composure so I could give my orders. This will be a long night. Who else knows about assassination for now? Alexander seemed surprised by my questions and frowned a bit while searching his mind. When I found the body, I immediately went to warn the advisor, and both of us rushed to see you. The only ones who know about there are the guards who were patrolling with me and your father's personal maid, who was passing by. We knew it would be bad to attract attention, so I had her discreetly sent to the dungeon for interrogation. How about the guards who were stationed before my father's door? Both are dead. I also had their corpses taken to the dungeon for examination. I paced the room, lost deep in thought. You have done well. Now we have to keep it all secret. It's imperative that no one else hears about it. Your Majesty, this won't be an easy secret to keep. Obviously, we won't be able to do this forever. I only need a few days, so I can stay ahead of my detractors. Alden looked through thoughtful for a few moments, then he nodded. I see. So you want to act before everyone else, which should give you the upper hand. Exactly. Very smart. I have no doubt that some people will want to take advantage of the situation, especially since you're a woman, which surely won't be everyone's taste. Even if you are unquestionably the rightful heir, your place will be fucked over. But if you don't give them time to react, that could make things a great deal easier. That's what I was thinking too. I don't know if the situation was more straightforward, but this is a little white lie, and the alternative is the chance of a widely disputed succession. I didn't know that I continued developing the rest of my plan. In the meantime, pretend that His Majesty is not feeling well, and investigate discreetly. I see. I will order my men to stay silent. I will also ensure that they haven't said a word so far. About that, it might be wiser to ensure that they can't talk at all. Low-grade staff is known for its gossiping, even the guards. My men are trustworthy. They will never disobey. Would you be willing to bet on that if it could jeopardize the plans of your new empress, to whom you have only just sworn allegiance? And that maid, can you also guarantee she will keep quiet? His teeth clenched. His hand gripping the hilt of his sword, Alexander shook his head. The weight of Alden's words had also fallen heavily on my shoulders, and I observed both men while contemplating my next step. This decision is yours to make, Your Grace, but I strongly advise you to silence them for good. Alden was right. The most effective way to ensure someone stayed quiet was to have them killed. However, there could be other alternatives to consider. Such a decision could be taken lightly, because whatever I decide, I couldn't afford to regret it. Oh, Jesus. Have them killed would pretend that we're collateral damage of the assassin. I'm sorry, Alexander, but we cannot afford to take this risk. Ensure the lawyer puts them a much better position once I'm crowned. Even if they were really tempted to tell what happened, this should be a good enough motivation to ensure their alliance. And when you explain to them that they mustn't say a word, give them a few coin and promise them more once the secret has been revealed. In the meantime, send them on a vacation far away from here. That should be enough to guarantee their silence. Money, nobility, people, fate, army, resources, influence. No. What did I do? I went back. I didn't want to wait that. I want to move the map. Ooh. This map was done with... I know this map. What was the name of this map tool? I use it. I used this map tool to create a map once. I don't remember the name of the map tool though. Really beautiful map, the one they did here. I really like it. Super cool. Super cool, super cool. Yeah, I remember these mountains. I have used them. Also these trees, I have used them. It's a really beautiful map. Okay, 20 money, 10 fate, 10 army. This will cost me army. This cost me that. This will cost me coin. Let's do this one, right? If there was something that Marjorie had taught me, is that power of money. I was convinced that a few shiny coins were enough to silence them. Applying extreme methods wouldn't be necessary. With all due respect, Your Grace, my wards won't let themselves be corrupted so easily. It's not about corruption, it's rather about compensating them for their loyalty. It's just a matter of wording things correctly. Well, if you put it that way. In any case, it's much better than what the advisor suggested. Alden wasn't used to opposing decisions too openly, and he merely shrugged. I'm fine with that. I have more reservations than you do about the integrity of your guards, but that's an acceptable compromise. Time will tell if we were right. I will go inform them. You will see, Your Grace. You have made the right decision. Without further ado, he bowed once more and left the room with a heavy step. Alden seems to be lost in thought for a moment, giving me time to come to my senses before he bowed down in turn. I must at least inform the Master of Murmurs of the situation, so that we may launch an investigation. I nodded, aware of our lead spy's discretion as well as his efficiency. Once that is done, I will come to you to plan the rest of your ascent. Once more, I nodded in approval, glad to be offered a little interlude that will allow me to gather my thoughts, and to dress decently while I was at it. After all, even if the coronation hadn't taken place yet, deep within me I knew I felt it. I was the Empress. Chapter 1. The Crown. After learning of her father's death, Lydia, supported by her advisors, decided to hide the Emperor's assassination by bribing the few servants aware of the events. She hoped that this bribe will allow her to set the stage in secret so she can obtain the political support necessary to her coronation. Spring Day 8, morning. Beautiful, beautiful scenery. Beautiful scenery, I love it. The sun had now been up for a few hours, promising a beautiful day, but I knew I wouldn't be able to appreciate it. Now that the rush of adrenaline from the news had passed, all I had left were doubts on the days to come, which were going to be exhilarating as much as terrifying. I was gambling my future along with Calidya's, and that was a big deal. I had spent the past few hours replying myself and feeding the details of my plan, to appease my latent nervousness as best as I could, but that didn't help me shake off my main preoccupation, the servants. Like Alden had said, I had made a risky decision, and I had been torturing myself for hours wondering if it was worth it. I was tossing and turning when I heard a knock on the door. I leaped out of my bed and let Alden in. There, Your Grace. We have followed your orders. I hadn't seen that he was accompanied by the Master of Murmurs, who came in after him. Slight discomfort washed over me. His role inside the palace was vital, but since I was a child, I had been terrified of his hidden face and the mysterious aura that surrounded him. Nevertheless, my discomfort turned into amazement when I saw him remove his hood as if it were nothing and turn to face me. My brain had pictured the worst for years, and it was very unsettling to finally be able to put a face to that man. I realized he wasn't as monstrous as I have imagined. In fact, I was shocked that it made me forget the reason for my visitor's presence, which seemed to greatly amuse the Master of Murmurs. Is there a problem, Your Grace? Oh, it's just I didn't know that you could show your face. To be honest, I do what I want, but in principle, I only remove my hood in the presence of my sovereign and their close collaborators. Though I like to entertain the mystery and anonymity that come with the job, it could be far too dangerous for me never to reveal my face. Some people might use that to usurp my identity. I see. Though it was disconcerting, it was also rather reassuring to see that a man as important as the Master of Murmurs already acknowledged me as a sovereign. Alden cleared his throat to recall me to my duty, and I suddenly remembered the reason for the two men presence, which immediately made my anxiety flare up. To keep myself from staring at the master spy, I faced the advisor and fully focused on him. Did everything go well? My anxiety must have been conspicuous, even if I was doing my best to put it on a confident expression. The servant seems convinced by your offer. They left the palace without complaining, so I suppose we can count that as a win. Despite all that, it's still a bit early to be sure of anything. I give the Master of Murmurs and Alexander the task to keep a close eyes on the situation. The Master of Murmurs slowly nodded in assent. We will know more information tomorrow. We will know more tomorrow, but for the time being, there is nothing more to report. I lifted my eyes to meet my advisors and flashed Alden a reassuring smile. Clearly, he read my emotions better than I had thought, and I couldn't allow myself to visibly waver at much at the critical time. I know that. What's done is done. Now we must focus on the future. Bring the High Priest to the council room. I need him to contact the Quadraton. Robert is a pious man. Are you sure it's a good idea to confide in him? Everyone likes to think the devout never lie, but one doesn't obtain a place like his without cheating a little. I admit that the idea of lying to him came to me for a fleeting moment, but to fool him will be a complex task, and I will be needing his support when the time comes. The people put great stock in men of faith. Very well, Your Majesty. Will that be all? Yes, thank you. Afternoon. You summoned me, Your Grace. Yes, thank you for coming, Robert. I gestured for him to sit down while I settled behind my father's imposing desk. Like I had predicted, my behavior made him lift a curious brow, but I pretend not to notice it. I won't beat around the bush. My father, the Emperor, died during the night. Clearly, he was done a pretty good job at keeping that a secret, since the shock of his face seemed genuine. What? But how? Why am I just learning about it now? I need to pray for his soul. I tried to appease him with a wave of my hand, inviting him to sit back down, since he looked like he was about to get up. He was murdered. For the time being, we are keeping his death a secret, so we can investigate without causing any sort of panic. It was the Master of Murmurs' idea. He's convinced he will be able to find the assassin more easily this way. Drowning in information, the High Priest slumped into his chair and took in my half-truths, while I assume a sudden explosion. I'm so sad that my father died. It truly is a tragic situation. Keeping quiet and hiding my mourning is a very hard task for me. Lies. I know it's a lot to ask of you, but you need to keep this a secret. I won't do everything in my power to uncover the murder. I want to do everything in my power to uncover the murder, especially since I'm scared he could come after me. Once more, I was quite proud of the quivers in my voice, and my acting seems to be effective since I saw a spark of compassion light up in his eyes. I understand now why the general was guarding your door like a common soldier. With a close expression on my face, I nodded, searching for the right words. The first and main reason I have summoned you here is that I could confide in you and ask you to pray for my departed father's soul. Of course, Your Majesty. I will lock myself in the great temple and dedicate myself to the task. My face still sad. I gave him a tight, grateful smile, but inside I felt relief. His prayers should keep him busy enough that he wouldn't be attempting to reveal everything. Now I can move on to the true reason of the presence here. But before that, this saddens me, but I have another favor to ask of you. Of course, Your Grace. What is it? Well, Alden and I are afraid that all the upstarts across the kingdom will rush to the castle and try to usurp the throne as soon as my father's death is made public. In their greed, many forget that my line sits on the throne by the grace of the Four, so I would like to send a letter to the Quadron and have him support my coronation as well as reaffirm my legitimacy. Once more, he stays silent, and I try to hide my worry behind a veil of sadness. I hated that my plans depended on a single person, but I didn't have a choice. Only kings and high priests could hope to quickly reach the ultimate leader of the cardinals, and I technically wasn't the queen yet. I I understand, yes. You're Magnus V's only legitimate child. The throne should be yours. That say, I don't know if the Quadrator will approve of those plans, since you are a woman and an unwed at that. I felt my body tense up at his words, and it took all I had to conceal how irritated I was by this reminder. I knew I would be told such things, I had mentally prepared myself for it, but obviously it hadn't been enough. It's an issue, yes, and I will do my best to find a fitting king quickly, but you will agree that I cannot entrust the throne of Calidya to just anyone. I have plenty of suitors, but I need some time to study each and every one of them. That's not something that can be done in just a couple of days, or even weeks. In the meantime, we do need someone to lead the country and make sure it doesn't sink into chaos. And if a regent were to be appointed, I'm afraid we might refuse to give the throne back to me and my husband, which will lead to a whole country to a bloodbath. You know, civil war. No one wants to see another era of murderous plots like during Magnus III's time. You're right, Your Grace. We cannot let such a tragedy befall us. I will go write a letter to the Quadrator right away, to express support for your coronation and explain our situation. Satisfied, I let out a sign of relief. I thank you for your support, High Priest Robert. It means a lot to me. Swiftly, I opened one of the desk drawers and pulled out a thin, sealed letter. While I was waiting for you, I humbly wrote a few words destined for the Quadrator. We have never met, and I hope this will help him get to know me a little, as well as assure him of my father in the fore. I was thinking that perhaps you would be so kind to add in your own correspondence. Once more, he seemed to be caught off guard, but he smiled instantly and enthusiastically. Of course, Your Majesty, it's a great idea. Relieved, I gave him the letter in question, while thanking him once more for his support and his help in these unpredictable times. I only hope he didn't have the audacity to break this death seal, because even if it did contain a few cliches of my virtues, the letter mostly made promises that could actually motivate the Quadrator. I knew that gold made the world go around, and so I promised a hefty donation to the great temple of the Fords. On the foreign meridian, knowing his taste for luxury, I knew that he will be insensitive to a few more riches. Having always known that I have his word one day, I had used a few resources at my disposal to observe him closely, and I have something that could stain his reputation. So this will cost me 3 of that. I have that amount. I think I will go for gold. To play with amounts powerful as the Quadrator, and I wasn't talking about his possible connection to the gods, but his actually worldly power, was a risky move, but it was all worth it. The dice had been cast, I could only hope for things to go well, and prepare the field for my conquest of the Calidya nobility. Spring Day 8th evening. Despite my desire to act, for the time being, I couldn't do anything but wait for the Quadrator answer. Even if the letter had left that very morning, Meridian was far away, and I knew I couldn't hope for an answer for at least 3 days. I had to chomp at the bit of and act naive. My first thought was to mingle with the colors, with the courts. Damn it, I have been reading a long time, I have been reading all day. Courts so I could clear my head, but then, repeating that nothing was up and feeding rumors to justify my father's absence was more frustrating than doing nothing. Even Marjorie's presence irritated me. Despite her advanced age, as soon as she turned her inquisitive eyes onto me, I had the impression she managed to perceive the truth. And so I had taken refuge in the library, hoping to read a little, but in all honesty, even if I managed to uncramble a few words, my thoughts were far away, and my mind was replaying the events of the previous night, asking myself again and again if I had done the right thing. Your Grace, forgive me for bothering you during your readings, but we have more news about the witnesses. Despite the mysteries he shrouded his words in, I knew exactly what he was referring, and that was enough to pull me out of my boring book. With a glance, I surveyed the library to make sure we were fully alone, before motioning for him to continue. I'm listening. What's going on? Just as I feared, the few gold coins we have the servants weren't enough. One of them, a soldier named Bruhim, has understood the value of the secret and is now trying to blackmail us. It was indeed a possibility I hadn't considered. To my greatest shame, I didn't think they would be cunning enough to know the value of this important secret. We can consider ourselves lucky that he still hasn't tried to sell that information to any of our political enemies. I'm sure the Baron of Lavois, for example, will have paid a good price to get his hands on it. I gather we don't have many options. We don't indeed. Either we pay up or make sure to shut him up. And for good this time. I would have liked to protest, but seeing how my own methods have failed, I couldn't well take offense when he offered me such a drastic solution. The only upside is that if we pay up, he won't be able to indefinitely blackmail us. In a few days, I will have the Quadraton's answer and my father's death will be officially announced. His words won't have any value from there on out. It's one of the possibilities, indeed, even if I'm wary of everything he could demand in a few days. People tend to be excessively greedy. Couldn't we just lock him up until things go back to normal? It's an option, but he would try to rally all the guards and the other prisoners in the dungeon if we arrest him under false pretenses, and if we were to kidnap him, when we release him, I doubt he will be great optics for us. When he laid it out like that, in Fearless, it was obvious a bad idea. Only my first two options remain, and none of them really appeal to me. Is he asking a lot? Like I said, he's understood the word of the secret, but fortunately for us, he's not used to the same order of magnitude we are. The sum he requests is still reasonable. But once again, I would advise you against it. Showing weakness at this stage could turn out to be fatal in the long run. Sighing, I took the time to think about my decision before sharing it. Oh, that's enough for him. I tried being pacifist, but since he wants to double-cross me, I don't have a choice. You're right. Well then, if I start letting people blackmail me, I will never be respected. Just kill him. I regret it, but I think the stacking up bodies is the solution. Pay him what he asks, but make sure he understands that if he tries to abuse your kindness, he will make them regret it. I think the poor man doesn't know what he's up against. Sending in a few agents to remind him of his place. That should be enough to calm him down and make him forget the demands. Yeah. His destiny is dead. Murder solves everything. No. Alden approved, clearly glad that finally decided to use his method. You are doing the right thing, Your Grace. I will go inform the Master of Rumors of your decision, and I will make sure everything is done with the utmost discretion. I hope so. If it came to be known that I assassinate my subjects, that will be the best advertisement for my rule. That wouldn't be. Worry not, consider this problem solved. I'm counting on you, Alden. In lieu of an answer, he bowed once more before exiting the room, his attitude as professional as ever, leaving me alone with my doubts. Spring Day 8 night. How many more days are going to be in the demo? It was already late when the Master of Rumors knocked on my door to inform me of the evolution of the situation. Despite the late hour, I hadn't managed to close my eyes at all, as I anxiously awaited to hear about the assassination. I knew well that the methods were common in the murky waters in which I now swam, but it was my first time and I couldn't shake off the feeling that there is so many variables that I could turn against me. The Master of Rumors took his time to start talking, and I lost my patience. So how did it go? Well, we can say we reached our goal. The blackmailer is dead. Unfortunately, he had the foresight to bring reinforcements, which jumped on our agents. We managed to overcome them and eliminated all witnesses, but we lost 2 worthy men in the fight. Relieved that the whole ordeal was over, I sympathized with the Master of Murmurs. Why did that guard have to be so greedy? Things would have been easier if he hadn't tried to take advantage of the situation. I am truly sorry about your men. We will throw a ceremony in their honor when this is all over. The Master of Murmurs shook his head with a melancholic smile. Don't worry, Your Majesty. They were the sort of men who live in the shadows. They have hated a public they do have hated a public remembrance. On that note, if you will allow me, I have many tasks left to accomplish. Yes, of course. He bowed. I remained alone with myself, and I couldn't stop wondering at victory and how bitter it sometimes tastes. Okay, probably this demo goes all the way to the moment of the answer of the quadraton, the guy with the four gods. So this is all the time I have for today. Actually, this game looks to be great. I like the writing. I like the characters. And it looks like it's gonna be a long one if I want to play it. But it's super interesting. Like I say, I love it. So, thank you very much everyone for watching. I hope you had a blast. I was the Lost Chevalier, signing out. Bye bye!